Welcome, listeners, to Somnus Sagas, where we breathe life into the stories that shaped our world. Today, we dive into the heart of the Great War, with the trench that never sleeps, a tale set in the mud-soaked scars of the Somme in autumn 1916. The trenches of the Western Front were more than battlegrounds. They were a relentless world of mud, fear, and fleeting humanity, where soldiers faced the unyielding horrors of war. Follow Private Thomas "Tommy" Ellis, a 19-year-old from Blackburn, and his diverse squad in the 8th Battalion, East Lancashire Regiment, as they navigate the brutal realities of the Somme offensive. From the suffocating stench of no man's land to the screech of shells, from the warmth of shared cigarettes to the fragile hope of whispered prayers, this story weaves a vivid tapestry of survival, loss, and resilience. You'll feel the weight of a St. Christopher medal, hear the defiant songs that cut through despair, and witness the unbreakable bonds forged in the chaos of a trench that never sleeps. Rooted in the historical truths of First World War, its rats, gas, mud, and fleeting truces, this is a journey into the lives of ordinary men and women from Britain, India, Kenya, Canada, and beyond, whose stories echo in the endless night. If you're moved by their courage, please give this video a like and subscribe to Somnus Sagas for more epic tales from history's shadows. Now let's step into the trench. The trench was a festering wound carved into the Somme's ravaged fields, a muddy, jagged scar where hope drowned in the mire. Private Thomas "Tommy" Ellis, 19, huddled on a splintered duckboard near Thiepval, his Lee Enfield rifle slick with rain, its weight a constant ache in his arms. It was October 1916, and the Somme offensive had transformed the French countryside into a quagmire of craters, barbed wire, and despair. The air reeked of wet clay, cordite, and the sickly decay of bodies left in no man's land, where corpses lay tangled like broken marionettes, their stench a relentless assault. Rain had pounded the trench for days, turning it into a shin-deep canal of sludge that sucked at Tommy's boots, threatening to claim them as it had so many others. His greatcoat, caked with mud, felt like a lead shroud, and his feet, slathered in whale oil to fend off trench foot, throbbed with a dull, persistent chill. He'd seen the cost of neglect. Private Jenkins, a lanky lad from Preston, had lost both feet to gangrene, his screams in the aid post haunting Tommy's dreams like a banshee's wail. "Stand to, lads," rasped Corporal Jack Hargreaves, his voice hoarse from shouting over the relentless whine of shells. The 8th Battalion, East Lancashire Regiment, braced for dawn, rifles ready, eyes scanning the fog-shrouded no man's land for a German raid. Tommy's heart pounded, but he steadied it by rubbing the St. Christopher medal tucked inside his tunic, a gift from his mother in Blackburn. "Keep you safe," she'd whispered, tears staining her cheeks as he boarded the train to Dover. 6 months in this hell had eroded Tommy's faith in saints, but the medal was his talisman, a ritual to hold back the chaos. He traced its worn edge, murmuring half-remembered prayer, his breath a faint cloud in the chill air. The trench was a labyrinth of misery, 8 feet deep, zigzagged to blunt shell blasts, its walls propped with sandbags that wept mud like blood. Rotting duckboards sank underfoot, and rats, fat from scavenging rations and corpses, scurried everywhere, their squeaks a constant torment. One darted over Tommy's boot, and he swatted it with his entrenching tool, muttering, "Bloody vermin." Jack, at 25 a veteran of Lewes, grinned through teeth yellowed by Woodbine cigarettes. "Rats don't shoot, Tommy. Fritz's snipers do." The squad chuckled, a brittle sound that masked their fear. Humor was their shield, calling shells whiz-bangs, joking about copping a packet, to dodge the terror of a bullet's bite. They'd named their trench Misery Lane, a nod to its endless mud and the German Maxims 200 yards away, their chatter a death knell in the night. Rations were late again, the 5th time that week. A German barrage had wrecked the supply line, and the carrying party, lads hauling 60-pound loads of bully beef, biscuits, or ammo through shelled communication trenches, hadn't returned. Tommy chewed a stale biscuit, its grit like chewing dirt, saving half in his haversack for later. The tea, brewed in a petrol can, tasted of chlorine, and the tinned McConaughey stew, when it came, was cold, its fatty broth congealed. He dreamed of his mum's shepherd's pie, the memory so vivid it twisted his empty stomach. Nearby, Private Sanjay Patel, an Indian sepoy from the 59th Shinda Rifles, nibbled a chapati from a rare parcel, his dark eyes fixed on a distant thought. Language kept Sanjay quiet. He spoke halting English, but he'd shared spiced biscuits once, a taste of home that had the squad grinning for hours. Private Alec Mboya, a King's African Rifle soldier from Kenya, sat cross-legged, carving a cross from a shell casing, his fingers steady despite the cold. Alec's Swahili curses and deep laugh had won him friends, though some British lads muttered about colonials when rations ran short. Private Marie Dubois, a French-Canadian volunteer with a sharp tongue, whittled a stick, her presence a rarity in the trench, but accepted after she proved her aim with a rifle. Private Li Wei, a Chinese Labour Corps worker, dug nearby, his shovel rhythmic despite the mud, his quiet resilience earning nods from the squad, though he faced slurs from less tolerant men. Night draped the trench in shadow, broken by German flares that cast no man's land in sickly green. Tommy froze at each one, knowing a sniper could spot a helmet above the parapet. He'd seen Private Davies, a fresh-faced Manchester lad, take a bullet through the skull for peeking too long, his body slumping like a rag doll. The memory made Tommy clutch his medal tighter. Sentry duty loomed, 2 hours peering through a periscope, ears straining for the clink of German wire cutters. Last night, a raid had hit the neighbouring trench, bayonets flashing in the dark. Private Billy Turner, Tommy's closest mate, had returned from a patrol clutching a German Bickelhaube helmet, his hands bloodied from a knife fight, his eyes wild with something beyond fear. "Got the bastard," Billy had whispered, but his hands shook as he lit a cigarette, ignoring the trench superstition that 3 lights drew snipers. The trench was a sensory assault. Shells thudded, their rumbles shaking the earth. Rats squeaked, water dripped, and screams from no man's land pierced the night. The air stank of latrines, unwashed bodies, and the faint garlic tang of mustard gas from yesterday's attack. Gas masks hung at every man's chest, their rubbery weight a grim reminder. Tommy had drilled to don his in 9 seconds, but the mask's suffocating fit made his heart race. A week ago, a gas shell had hit their sector, and Private Walsh, too slow with his mask, had died gasping, his eyes bulging like a fish. Tommy prayed he'd never join him. Camaraderie was their lifeline. Jack, the corporal, was their rock, sharing his 1/8 pint rum ration when spirits sank. He'd lost a brother at Lewes, but buried the grief, humming "Pack Up Your Troubles" to keep the lads steady. Sanjay, despite the language gap, was a crack shot, earning nods after skewering a rat the size of a loaf. Evans, a Welsh miner, told bawdy stories of Cardiff pubs, while Alec taught Swahili curses, his laugh a burst of light. Marie, tough as nails, matched Evans' stories with Quebec tales, her French accent softening the squad's edges. Li Wei, though not a soldier, shared a cigarette once, his broken English conveying gratitude. Tommy, the youngest, wrote letters home, censored to hide the truth. "All's well," he scrawled, meaning, "I'm terrified." His mum's parcels, socks, toffee, a photo of his sister Annie, were treasures, though lice infested the socks within days. The squad shared everything, even Sanjay's curry paste, smeared on biscuits for a fleeting taste of spice. Animals were comrades too. A scruffy terrier, dubbed Mutt, had adopted the platoon, sniffing out rats and curling up in dugouts. Tommy scratched Mutt's ears, feeling a flicker of home. Pigeons carried messages when wires snapped. One had brought orders yesterday to hold the line, though half were shot down by snipers. Mules plodded through the mud, laden with 200 pounds of ammo or water, their brays drowned by shell fire. Tommy pitied them, recalling a horse sunk to its neck in a crater, shot to end its thrashing. Mutt seemed to sense danger, whimpering before barrages, a better warning than any sentry. Once, Mutt had barked at a German sapper tunneling below, saving the squad from a mine explosion. Weather was a relentless foe. Rain turned the trench into a canal, knee-deep in sludge that swallowed boots. Tommy's feet were numb, his socks rotting despite whale oil. Last winter, frostbite had claimed 2 men, their toes black as coal. Summer had brought flies and thirst, water rations barely a pint in the heat. Now, autumn's fog trapped gas, making masks a constant burden. Tommy dreamed of Blackburn's cobbled streets, but the thought deepened his isolation. He'd heard of Passchendaele's rains, where men drowned in shell holes, their screams bubbling through mud. Thiepval's mud was nearly as bad. Last week, a gun sank, and Private Carter vanished in a crater, his cries unanswered. Religion anchored some. Padre O'Connell, a wiry Irishman, braved the trench for services, his rosary swinging as shells screamed. Last Sunday, he'd prayed in a dugout, men kneeling in mud, whispering psalms. Sanjay prayed facing east, his turban a splash of color, while Alec's carved cross hung around his neck, a memento of his mission school. Marie, Catholic like many Quebecois, clutched a rosary, her lips moving silently. Li Wei, Buddhist, kept a small jade charm, touching it quietly. Tommy, raised Anglican, wasn't sure what he believed, but his St. Christopher medal was his talisman, touched before patrols. Evans scoffed at faith, cursing God after a shell buried a mate, but Tommy clung to hope, however faint. Once, Sanjay showed Tommy a Sikh prayer book, its pages worn but sacred, and Tommy shared his medal story, a rare bond across worlds. Civilians were a distant echo. On rest days, 2 miles back, the squad visited a French estaminet, where Madame Claire, grey-haired and weary, served beer and stale bread. Pour les soldats, she'd say, slipping Tommy an extra slice, her eyes kind but haunted. He traded a German button, scavenged from no man's land for wine, its warmth a fleeting escape. The village was half ruined, its people refugees. Tommy once saw a Belgian girl clutching a doll, fleeing with her family. He gave her his last toffee, her mercy, lingering like a ghost. Back in the trench, letters from home, 12 million a week across the British Army, were lifelines, though censored. Annie wrote of mill work, oblivious to Tommy's reality. He hid the truth, knowing it would break her. The trench had evolved since July. Early in the offensive, it was a shallow ditch, 4 feet deep, leaving men exposed to shrapnel. Now it was 8 feet, with sandbags and wire thick enough to stop a charge. 1 million miles of wire across the front. The Germans opposite had concrete dugouts, rumored to have electric lights, while Tommy's squad huddled in a leaky canvas nook. Sappers had dug saps, narrow trenches into no man's land, for listening posts, where Tommy once spent a night, heart pounding as German picks tunneled below. The Messines mines, detonated months earlier, had killed 10,000 in seconds, and Tommy feared their trench sat above a German mine. Last week, a sapper, Private Owen, emerged from a tunnel, face grey, muttering about a collapsed shaft that buried 2 mates. Orders came at midnight, a dawn attack to seize a German strongpoint. Jack briefed them, his voice steady but eyes tired. Creeping barrage will cover us. Stay low. Tommy's stomach knotted. Going over the top meant crossing 200 yards of craters and wire under machine gun fire. He'd seen men cut down, left hanging like scarecrows. The squad prepared, checking rifles, sharpening bayonets. Sanjay tied a sacred cloth around his wrist. Evans muttered Welsh curses. Alec polished a trench knife. Marie tucked her rosary away, and Li Wei, though not fighting, offered a nod of solidarity. Tommy wrote a letter, "Dear Mum, I'm fine," and tucked it away, fearing it might be his last. As dawn broke, the barrage roared, shaking the trench. Mud sprayed, duckboard splintered. Mutt whimpered, burrowing into Tommy's side. The whistle blew, and Jack yelled, "Up, lads!" Tommy climbed the ladder, metal clutched, heart hammering. No Man's Land was a hellscape of smoke and screams, shells bursting, Maxims rattling. He tripped in a crater, mud swallowing his knees, but scrambled forward, Sanjay at his side. A bullet grazed Evan's leg, and Tommy dragged him to a shell hole. Yelling for stretcher-bearer Charlie Wells, a wiry lad who braved fire to save men. Marie fired at a German trench, her aim steady, while Alec lobbed a Mills bomb, its blast clearing a path. The attack faltered. German wire uncut, tanks stalled in mud. Jack signaled retreat, and they stumbled back carrying Evans. Back in the trench, Tommy gasped, hands bloodied from Evans' wound. 3 men were missing, including Billy. Charlie bandaged Evans, his face grim. Half his bearers hadn't returned. Padre O'Connell prayed over a dying man, his voice steady despite a nearby shell burst. Mutt licked Tommy's hand and he fed the dog his saved biscuit, a small defiance. That night, Tommy sat on the fire step, staring at stars through a gap in the clouds. A pigeon fluttered off, carrying a message, its wings a soft beat. He hummed Pack Up Your Troubles, joined by Jack, Sanjay, Alec, and Marie, their voices a fragile thread of hope. Days later, on rest duty, the squad trudged to the estaminet. Madame Claire served wine, and a local boy, Pierre, played a harmonica, earning a cigarette from Jack. Sanjay shared a photo of his wife, his English halting but proud. Alec taught Pierre a Swahili word, laughing. Marie recounted a Quebec winter, her eyes distant. Li Wei, usually silent, offered a shy smile, sharing a rice cake from a rare parcel. Tommy wrote home, the lie, all's well, heavier each time. Back in the trench, news came of Billy's death, sniper, clean through the neck. The squad sat in silence, Mutt at their feet as rain fell again. A week later, a gas attack hit at dusk. The gong clanged, and Tommy fumbled his mask, heart racing as the chlorine cloud rolled in. Sanjay helped him, calm despite the chaos, and they survived, coughing but alive. Evans, on crutches, cursed the war, but Alec carved another cross, muttering a prayer. The trench was shelled again, and a sap collapsed, trapping 2 sappers. Tommy joined the rescue, digging until his hands bled, pulling one man out alive. The other didn't make it. By November, the Somme offensive slowed, but the trench remained their world. The squad was sent to a reserve trench, a brief respite. They played cards, using bully beef tins as stakes, and Jack read from a tattered wiper's Times, its satire easing the gloom. Sanjay taught them a Punjabi song, Alex shared a Nairobi tale, and Marie sang a French lullaby. Tommy sketched Mutt in his diary, a gift for Annie if he survived. The medal stayed close, touched before every patrol. One night, a German prisoner, Hans, was brought in, starving and shivering. Tommy gave him a biscuit, seeing fear mirror his own. Hans whispered, "Danke," and Tommy nodded, a fleeting truce. Days later, a letter arrived from Annie with a pressed flower. Tommy tucked it beside his medal, a piece of home. The squad was ordered to a new sector, rumors of a big push swirling. As they marched, Mutt trotted alongside, and Tommy hummed "Pack Up Your Troubles," the squad joining in, their voices defying the mud, the shells, and the endless night. Weeks later, Tommy volunteered for a wiring party, repairing barbed wire under cover of darkness. The task was grueling. 50 pounds of wire dragged through mud, snipers waiting for a sound. Sanjay covered him, rifle ready, while Alec whispered encouragements in Swahili. A flare caught Tommy's movement, and a bullet whizzed past, grazing his helmet. He dove into the trench, heart pounding, medal clutched. "Close one, lad," Jack said, clapping his shoulder. That night, they shared a smuggled bottle of French wine, a rare treat from Madame Claire, toasting survival. In December, a rare moment of peace came. A football match in a rest camp, organized by the YMCA. Tommy's squad played against a Scottish unit, slipping in mud but laughing like boys again. Sanjay scored, earning cheers, while Marie refereed her whistle sharp. Alec, limping from a shrapnel nick, cheered from the sidelines, Mutt barking at his side. The game ended in a draw, and for an hour, the war felt distant. Back in the trench, reality returned. A shell killed Private Owen, the sapper, his body buried in the parapet. Padre O'Connell held a service, his voice breaking as he read from Psalms. Tommy touched his medal, whispering for Owen's soul. By January 1917, the squad faced another attack, this time with tanks, lumbering Mark words that broke German wire but bogged in mud. Tommy's platoon followed, capturing a trench but losing Marie to a sniper. Her rosary was sent home, a grim parcel. Sanjay took it hardest, having shared stories of faith. The squad shrank, but Tommy, Jack, Alec, and Mutt held on, their bond tighter. Tommy's diary filled with sketches, trenches, Mutt, Sanjay's turban, a record of survival. The medal, now scratched, stayed close, a silent vow to endure. In February, a quiet spell brought a chance to rebuild. Tommy helped Lee Wei reinforce the trench, piling sandbags under moonlight. They shared few words, but Lee's nod was enough. A German deserter, Karl, stumbled into their lines, half-starved, offering a Luger pistol for food. Tommy gave him bully beef, seeing a boy like himself, trapped by war. Karl spoke of German trenches, their men eating sawdust bread, morale crumbling. The squad listened, wary but curious, their own hunger a shared language. Spring brought mud and more attacks. During a raid, Alex saved Tommy, tackling him as a grenade exploded, shrapnel grazing Alex's arm. In the aid post, Tommy stayed with him, sharing his last toffee. Alec carved a wooden bead for Tommy, a Kenyan token of friendship. Sanjay, promoted to Lance Corporal, led a patrol, his calm earning respect. Jack, now battle-worn, confided in Tommy about Luz, his brother's face haunting him. Mutt, ever loyal, grew thin but stayed close, a symbol of their endurance. By March, the Germans retreated to the Hindenburg Line, their trenches deeper, concrete-lined. Tommy's squad followed, occupying abandoned German dugouts, marveling at their electric lights. But the war ground on, shells falling, men dying. Tommy's diary grew thick, sketches of Pierre's harmonica, Lee's shovel, Alec's cross. A letter from Annie arrived, with a knitted scarf. Tommy wrapped it around Mutt during a cold night, the squad laughing despite the frost. In April, a final push loomed. The squad prepared, knowing losses would come. Sanjay taught Tommy a Sikh prayer. Ellis shared a Nairobi story, and Jack read from the Wipers' Times, its humor a shield. As they marched to the front, Mutt trotted behind, and Tommy touched his medal, praying for strength. The trench was their world, mud, rats, mates and all, but their stories, whispered in the dark, kept them human. They sang, "Pack up your troubles," voices rising against the endless night, a flicker of light in the abyss. And so, listeners, we leave the muddy, unyielding world of the trench that never sleeps, where Private Tommy Ellis and his comrades fought not just for survival, but for the flickering light of humanity amidst the Somme's relentless chaos. Their stories of shared songs, whispered prayers, and bonds forged in the shadow of shells remind us of the resilience that carried them through the darkest nights of 1916. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of the Great War, here at Somnus Sagas, where history's shadows come to life. If this tale of courage and sacrifice moved you, please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button to join our community of saga seekers. Your support keeps these stories alive. Drop a comment below. Share your thoughts on Tommy's squad or what the First World War tale you'd like to hear next. Follow Somnus Sagas for more epic narratives. And until we meet again in the next chapter of history, keep the stories burning bright. Farewell from the trenches.